Hello everyone, welcome to today's video where we are going to take a look at round 5 and round 6 games from the Chennai Open being held in Chennai from the 2nd of January to the 9th of January. In the 5th round I was playing against Rathnakaran who is better known as the Indian TAL because of his very complicated playing style. He's great at tactics and he's always trying to complicate matters, and often doing so he is getting into a clearly worse position right from the opening, but he's very resourceful and he makes up for it by creating complications. So I opened up with c4, knight f6, knight f3, g6, KID fianchetto variation, and knight c3, knight d7 castles. Here e5, queen c2, and here I think the best move for black, and there is a forced way to equalize the game with the knight b6, and I do not remember exactly how the variation goes from here. I think there's something like rook d1, knight c4, and knight b5, knight cb5, and I don't know, like I saw this variation a long time ago, and I feel but I hope that Rathnakaran won't be knowing it. So he played rook e8, and the point of queen c2 was to bring my rook to the d file, hitting a black's queen on d8 indirectly and immediately. In general, the main line goes like e4, and there's rook e8, h3, takes, and c6, and the point is here the queen is on d1, and white needs to wait for some moves before he can bring a rook to the d1 square. But after queen c2 I get my rook immediately to d1, c6, e4, ed4, knight d4, and here I think Rathnakaran makes the first critical error in the game. He plays knight e5. Actually he's attacking the c4 pawn, and if say I save it with something like b3, he plays bishop g4, and after f3 there's this very important move c5, and I can't move my knight because the f3 pawn is falling, and if I take on g4, then after cd4 my king is very weak, and the dark squares in front of my king are extremely weakened, and I think black is clearly better in this position. But I played c5, and the point is after something like dc5 I have knight f5, and hitting the queen, and if the queen moves I can take on g7 and weaken black's dark squares. So he correctly plays d5, and after bishop g5 putting more pressure on the d5 pawn, because I'm threatening to take and take because I'm pinning black's queen indirectly, and so after bishop g5 he plays queen f5, and here I played d takes d5. I was actually expecting him to play queen c5, where I would have gone for bishop f6, knight e4, and the point is after something like queen c2 it's losing after due to knight f6, and now there's no king g7 because knight e8 would come with a check, and after something like king f8 I can just safely take the queen on c2, and I'm a safe piece up. But he plays and after queen c5, bishop f6, knight e4, the best move for black is queen e7, and here I was thinking I am going to play d takes c6, and the point is after something like bc6 I can take on c6, knight c6, and knight f6, queen f6, and now bishop takes c6, and the point is after bishop c6 I'm double attacking black's two rooks, and if black plays something like bishop f5 I have queen c3, and the double attack still persists, and I'm going to be an exchange up, and if he plays bishop g4 I'm going to just take on e8, and after bishop takes d1, take on f7, queen f7, and I take on d1 with my queen because black is attacking my a2 pawn, so I can't take with my rook, and I'm safely 2 pawns up, and I'm going to play b3 next and rook c1, and I'm with 2 pawns up. It's a clear win for me. So he plays bishop g4, which is an inaccuracy, but I think it's the best defense for black, and I took on f6, sacrificing an exchange. I don't know, maybe there's a better move for white here, but it's very complicated position, and I took a lot of time, like around 20 minutes I thought before taking on f6, and I really like my chances being an exchange down because I am going to have a very strong passed pawn on d6. Bishop d1, rook d1, bishop f6, and here I played knight e4, which is again a mistake according to the engine, but it's very hard to find. I was mostly considering bishop e7, d6, bishop d8, where I was thinking that I'm clearly better in this position after something like a3, and this queen is completely offside, and my d6 pawn is so strong. I have like black's pieces are just in a really awkward situation. But he played bishop g7, and after which I played knight d6, and after rook e7 I took on c6, knight c6, and here actually I suddenly saw that after bishop c6 there's this move, bishop takes d4, and after bishop d4, bishop b7, I thought that maybe I'm winning in this position, but yeah, I think I'm winning in this position anyways. Yeah, with bishop c6 there was a move for black that's saving the game. I mean, knight takes c6 kind of doesn't work because there's this check, takes, queen takes, and bishop f1 is forced, b takes c6, and I can't take the c6 pawn anymore. But after knight c6 I think bishop c6, and if something like rook e1 check, I can go king g2, and my point is after bc6 I can even think about going knight c4 and take the rook on e1. Like he has to move his queen, and his e1 rook is going to fall. But maybe it's equal after queen c5, rook e1, and queen d4. Yeah, because he has this very strong bishop over here, and I do not fathom my chances of winning in this game. But I played rook e1, queen e1, king g2, and he took on d4. He took on c6, and after knight c6 the engine is showing that it's approximately equal position, but I thought that I'm clearly better. I misjudged the position a bit, but yeah, doesn't matter. I thought that I'm in no way going to lose because I have a c passed pawn and my knights are looking pretty strong. So after a5 I played queen b3, and I saw that rook f8 is the best move for black here because the f5 pawn is protected by the e1 queen. I can take on a5, and I really didn't know what to play here. But okay, what he played, queen e6, is more natural, and that's what I expected him to play. And after queen f3 he has to play rook f8 because I'm threatening to go knight e7 check and take grab that rook on a8. He played rook f8, and after b3 I was feeling pretty confident that I'm going to win this position. After f5 he's very resourceful and tries to complicate the position since he's clearly worse. I took the pawn on a5, and after h5 I played like his idea is to go f4, and here if he would have gone a4 then I am going g4, and after h5 I'm going h3, and there is no way he can attack my king on g2. So he plays h5 so that after f4 I don't have g4 anymore, so I played h3 prophylaxis against f4, and after h4 I just took the pawn on h4, and my king is feeling pretty safe. Bishop f6, knight c4, bishop h4, and c6. Now I thought that bishop d8 is the best move here, and I would have probably played b4, and after bishop c7 I think something like knight b5 and knight d4, and then b5 b6 is winning for me. And he played queen e7, and which is an inaccuracy, but it doesn't really matter, I'm winning anyways. After b4, king h7, b5, he plays rook f6, and here things started to get a bit more complicated for me. I was thinking about playing something like queen d3 or queen d5 or queen d1, but the problem is something like queen d3 runs into rook e6, and he is threatening to go queen g5 check and king h2, rook e1, and he is like getting a lot of counterplay in this position, surprisingly enough. And I don't know what this position is, to be honest. I played queen f4, attacking the bishop on h4, and after rook e6 I played I blundered with c7. I was thinking for a long time about b6, but I was not so sure. After rook e2, c7, I saw that rook f2 doesn't work because of queen f2, bishop f2, and c8 queen. and I'm winning because there are no checks for black. But I was a bit worried about bishop takes f2 and I didn't know what to do here. But actually the engine says that after queen f2, rook f2, king f2, white is going to queen on c8 anyways, and there is no perpetual check because I'm just going to go up with my king, and I'm pretty safe. I'm just going to hide my king over on b8, and then queen my pawn on c8, and I'm clearly winning. But a slight miss for me here, and after c7 he plays bishop g5, and we repeated the moves a bit. The point is I was also thinking about queen h4, but the point is after queen h4 c8 queen, there's queen g5 check, and after something like king h2 there's queen f4 check, and if I play something like king f1, then there's queen c1 check, and again the same thing happens. And if something like black also has this move rook e1 in certain cases, very complicated position, but ends up in a perpetual anyways. So I didn't play queen h4, I played queen f4, but I was really low on time here, and after bishop g5 I played queen f3, queen c7, b6, queen d8, b7, and here I blundered with knight f7. The engine is saying that queen b7 wins, but I saw rook e7. Maybe just queen d5 now. My queen is looking very very active, and just b7 and a5, a4, a5, a6, and a7 is winning. But anyways, I played knight f7, and here the engine sees some crazy drawing variation for black. After queen e7, b7, there's this crazy move, bishop f4, activating his bishop, and preventing my pawn from promoting. And his point is after something like queen f4, there's queen b7 check, and then he's going to pick up my knight on f7, and I don't know who is better in this position actually. But queen e7 was missed by my opponent. He plays queen f6, which is a blunder, and I grabbed my opportunity and I played b7, and after rook e8 I played knight d6, and my knights are dominating the position over there. And after I started pushing the a pawn because my king is very safe and I have a lot of time in my hand, and after bishop d2, queen d5, eyeing to attacking the bishop and simultaneously eyeing to play a5, a6, a7, I was clearly winning. My opponent played queen c3, which is a huge blunder. He was losing anyways, but I played knight e7, and I was going to play queen f7, queen g6 met, and after queen c7 he drops his bishop, and after some trickeries like he was threatening to go after knight f7, queen b7 takes. Even though this is winning, I thought okay, I can just win the game on spot. Queen b4. The point is after something like queen d6, rook d6, there's b8 queen, and if rook d6 immediately, then b8 queen anyways. So after f4, knight f7, I just picked up my pawn, the pawn on f4, and my opponent resigned in this position. So a very good game by me, I think, and some misses, but that's under time trouble, and I was very energetic during the game, and I played energetically and converted very precisely in general. So let's move on to the next game, the one I lost. I was playing against a 2000 rated guy from Tamil Nadu, and in general he didn't seem like he plays a lot of chess, but and also when he was holding his pieces, it was clear that he is very very inexperienced. But it was I was very shocked at seeing how fast he calculates and the quality of his moves. So I opened with e4, c5, knight c3, e6, and I was expecting the Grand Prix. Actually, the pairings were out like 30 minutes before the start of the game, and I didn't really have a lot of time to prepare. But the same goes for my opponent, and he played knight g2. But in general, after knight c6, g3, d5, the position is already equalized for black, and I think with the IQP, black has a lot of initiative in this position with piece activity. So knight f6, bishop g3, bishop g4. I think queen d3 is the main move here, but my opponent chose to go knight d2. So after knight d2, I was thinking for a long time about playing d4. I'm very curious what the engine says. I was seeing this bishop c6, bc6, queen d4, knight d4, and long castle. And here after knight c6, I was considering rook e8 check, bishop e3, and bishop c5. Actually, bishop f3 doesn't work because there's a knight a7 check, and after king b7 castles, white's knight is going to escape, and white is just clearly 3 pawns up for nothing. Bishop e3, and I was considering bishop c5, and after castles, bishop e3, fe3. I was a pawn down, but I have some compensation here. But anyways, I think after knight a7 the same thing is happening, and white is clearly better in this position. Yeah. Yeah, so this doesn't work. So d4 doesn't work. I played bishop c5, trying to activate my bishop on this very juicy diagonal, and he played h3, bishop f5, again trying to activate my bishop on this juicy diagonal, hitting the c2 pawn. Although both my bishops are unprotected, I do not think that there are clear ways to attack them. After bishop g5, I played h6. Actually, I was considering castles for a long time, but knight d5, and I didn't really know how to break this pin. Something like bishop f2 doesn't work because of just king f2, knight e4, bishop e4, queen g5, and now something like takes, and knight f4, and something like g5 doesn't work because of well, it does work. Yeah, queen c5 check and picking up the knight. Yeah, but shouldn't work after queen g5. Yeah, just something simple like bishop f3 is just winning for white. So after h6, he took on f6, queen f6, and here I was expecting him to play knight d5, where I had to play something like queen e5 to protect the c7 square. And after castles, I like he has some weaknesses on b2, and I'm going to play rook d8. I have some compensation for the pawn in the form of my bishop pair and piece activity, but I'm not so sure if it's enough. But luckily he castled it out, and after castles, he still did not take on d5, fearing that I'm going to have a lot of initiative and piece play. He played queen d2, and after rook d8 he played a3, trying to go for b4, b5. Here I was for a long time considering bishop e4, and maybe I should have gone for it, but I was fearing some simplifications with, I think, queen f4, and after queen f4, knight f4, bishop c2, knight d5. I did not really like my chances to win this game, but I played queen g6, and I think this move was a bit rushed because after playing this move I thought like it's kind of threatening to go bishop c2, but bishop c2 doesn't work simply because of knight f4. So I was thinking something like king h2 was pretty safe for white, because after bishop c2, knight f4, there's no more queen g3 because the king has already moved from the g1 square. But I maybe could have played bishop e4 here. Yeah, bishop e4, and forcing him to play f3. But still, it's I don't know what this position is, to be honest. I don't think I can play for a win here. So after queen g6, he played b4, bishop b6, and knight takes d5. And here I blitzed out my move in under 1 minute. I played rook e8, which turned out to be the most critical blunder mistake of the game. My idea was like my opponent is trying to play b5, so I'm like kicking out my knight because it controls the e7 square right now, and then he can play knight e7 check and take my queen on g6. But what I missed was that I need to play very, very concretely in this position. So I have to, the best move for black here was bishop e4. I'm pretty sure if I thought for like 2-3 minutes I would have found this move, because I'm threatening to play rook d5 next, and the point is after bishop e4, queen e4, if knight c3 is played, then I have queen e5. Well, it takes a lot of calculation because I have to find queen e5, hitting the g3 pawn, and also trying to go bishop d4, and after something like queen d3 I have bishop d4, and after rook d1, well, rook d1, just bishop c3 is coming, right? And I take on d5 next, because white can't take on c3 with this knight due to the pin. So yeah, maybe he could have played rook e1, and after queen h5, knight f4, I had to find this brilliant move, bishop takes f2, and after king takes f2, rook d3, knight h5, rook c3. I think black is slightly better here, and clearly better. One of these pawns is falling, so maybe he should have gone for this rook to e1, and after queen h5, now knight f4, takes, this, and yeah, I'm very active in this position, and I think I could have won this game after if I played bishop e4. But it takes a lot of calculation, but some understanding is also enough to find a move like bishop e4. You can't kick the bishop, my knight, by the way, because I just take on d5 with my rook. And if c4, then there's bishop g2, king g2, queen e4 check, and after f3, the c4 pawn is falling. The engine says that it's equal as always, but I mean, his king is so weak, and I have a bishop, and his pawns are advanced, and a bit advanced, and his 7th rank is so weak. I feel I could have ground out a win in this position. But I played rook e8, which is a decisive blunder, and after c4 he's threatening to go c5 next. I was thinking maybe I should offer him a draw here, but I played knight e5 first. I was like gambling, kind of. Like, we had 2 rounds today, so I was a bit tired in this game, but I should have just agreed to like played very safely, not to win by force, and if it's a draw, it's a draw. But I was like pushing for a win. Knight e5, c5, I had to play bishop c7. I was considering for a long time bishop h3, but I couldn't make this variation work. The point is, after knight g6, there's this and knight d2, and I think black is fine in this variation. But my main problem was knight f4, bishop g2, king g2, and now my queen is hanging, and after queen c6, there's ab6, and if I play g5, hitting this knight and the d5 knight indirectly, there's b5, and so this variation doesn't work, because after something like this, white has knight f6 check, I believe. Yeah, and after something like king h8, he can just play something like queen c2, threatening mate over there, and white is winning. And if I say after king g2, queen e4 check, f3, knight f3, rook f3, I tried to make this variation work, but it is not working. I saw bishop c7, but there's rook d1, and after bishop f4, there's gf4, and I mean, white is able to save his knight on d5, and he's a clear piece up for a pawn, but yeah, he should be clearly winning. So I also thought about bishop e4, but it leads to the same variations, but with a pawn off for white, so it doesn't make much sense. After c5, I played bishop c7, and after knight f4, still here I should have offered him a draw, but after queen g5, queen c3, yeah, after queen g5, I offered him a draw, but I didn't take it because he was clearly winning, and yeah, I saw queen c3, and I was like, oh my god, bishop b8, but still I had some hopes because the position is very complicated. And after queen g4, I was expecting him to play bishop h3, because this doesn't work. After queen f3, I don't think, okay, it does work. I was saying bishop f5, rook d5, and knight d5, queen d5. Yeah, but it's very complicated, right? Something like rook e1 as per the if knight f3, there's just queen f3. Wow, this is amazing. If queen f3, then it's a mate. Yeah, I didn't see this variation. Very amazing variation, actually. Yeah, so it turns out that both bishop h3 and knight e3, what he played, both were winning. So after knight f3 check, I played my opponent played king h1 and I had to take on e3 because the knight is attacking my queen and my queen is trapped. So queen e3 was forced. He played queen e3. I was a bit happy when he played queen e3 because I thought that maybe f e3 was the move that's clearly winning for white. But I thought that knight d2, rook d1. Maybe after bishop f4 things are not so easy for white here. Maybe it's me who is winning now. Yeah, very very complicated position. But he played queen e3 very fast, and after queen e3, knight h4, queen e7. I was there was like rook d4 move as well, but I really thought that I'm going to lose this position very very easily. So, but I should have at least tried this variation. Like, was my best shot, even though I'm an exchange down, I'm a pawn up for it. But yeah, like I believe he could have converted it, but I should have gone for it. But the resulting position was quite tricky. I played knight g2, queen d8 check, king h7, and here I was thinking that he's going to play queen b8 because the point is, after I thought that this was the move that was winning, but after knight g2, during the game actually I found that bishop e4 is holding for black, and the point is, after knight g2 there's queen h3 check, king g1, queen g2 mate, and if he plays f3, queen g3, and now if fe4, I thought that after knight f4 he can't take on f4 because I still visualize this position with this pawn on f3, so I was winning his queen in my calculations, but it's not happening. And so yes, even this seems winning, yeah. But I thought that knight g2 and there's this queen b8, amazing pinning move, yeah. I'm winning his queen and should be a draw here. I'm going to get some checks. But he played king g2 almost immediately, and then I realized that I'm losing here because after bishop e4 check, f3, bishop f4, at first I thought maybe I'm winning, but then I saw that he has queen h4 and it's game over for me. And I played on a bit only due to frustration, but yeah, there's just no hope, and I resigned here. So that's it. I'm at 4 out of 6, and I think the leader is going to be at 5 out of 6. I'm not so far behind, just 1 point behind the leader. So there's 4 more games to go, and anything can happen in these games, and I hope to come back. And yeah, maybe I should have just played a very very safe game today in the second round, but I'm still having a lot of energy in this tournament, and I hope that I come back strong. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video. Do like and subscribe, and you can check out the previous game recaps in the links given below. And yeah, see you tomorrow. Have a good night, day, evening, afternoon, wherever you're from. And yeah, that's it. Stay tuned. Hare Krishna.